cuello despacito, deja que te diga cosas al oído, para que te acuerdes si no estás conmigo.
One of the biggest reasons that YouTube took off the way it did is because it was, emphasis on was, a place where all kinds of content could be easily found and appreciated. We've got tutorials, let's plays, tutorials for let's plays, what's not to love? However, the most underrated, or at least mistreated, category out of all of them would have to be the YouTube Animator category. Oh, you don't know which YouTube Animator category I'm talking about. That's fair. I'm talking about the people on YouTube who share their life stories and advice behind a wall of digital cartoons and scribbles. Kind of like books, except there's no imagination in determining the voices and movements. Anyway, moving past my cynical rants, YouTube Animators are very unique to me. They strike me as a good balance between real-life experiences and cartoony fun visuals. So today, or tonight, whenever you're watching this, I'm counting down my top 5 favorite YouTube animators. But why just 5 and not 10 like last time? I decided that it's just gonna be low-calorie top 5 lists from now on because that top 10 list honestly took me a time longer than a long time to finish. And yes, I know, this one did too. I'm so productive, thank you. A few semantics first. For me to consider someone a YouTube animator, they must be one person who shares lessons and life stories using animation. That's it. As such, I'm going to grade them on 3 things. Subject matter, what they choose to talk about, animation, the animation in their videos, obviously, and general likability, what I like about them as a person. Note that this does not mean that I think any of these creators are better or worse people than each other, I just like them more. And finally, don't get mad at me for the ranking. This is my personal opinion that doesn't apply to you. You have your reasons and I have my weird reasons. Oh, and if you are a YouTube animator, same goes to you. No hard feelings, it's just that I'm being judgmental here. So, yeah. The clips! One of the perks of being an everyman is that you're the ancient universal textbook definition of relatable. Childhood struggles, difficult job, crushing fear and anxiety. How are you not sympathetic as fudge? One could argue that it's wrong to have your main selling point be that you felt pain, but I don't see those kinds of people that way. I see them more as reflections of us. A way to look at ourselves and let the advice that we know about come back to us. Just, one thing. Since when did I grow horns? Playing devil's advocate right off the bat, are we? No, we're playing the devil's laid-back roommate's advocate. At first glance, Something Else YT, or Seat as I'll be calling him, is pretty noticeable. I mean, who wouldn't notice someone with horns on their head unless they were as blind as a bat with no eyes? But aside from that, Seat is just a really chill guy who looks like a good time to be around. He definitely has the likability factor in his favor thanks to his casual way of talking and clear respect for his viewers. That kind of behavior makes it obvious that he doesn't think of himself as above his audience. But what else is there? Well, for starters, the guy has a pretty interesting life. The subject matter of his videos is very unique, from a story about having his jaw closed for 6 months, to having a nightmare about the ring girl's mama playing Slender with him, to a quest for an antidote to his deathly illness. It's plainly obvious that the guy's been through a lot, and that he's learned a lot too. He's pretty wise all around, but my favorite piece of his advice has got to be his video, Fame is Lame. It really does open your eyes to the fact that, well, fame is lame. Also, it has this guy in it.
You're so cool, baby. I want to be just like you. Man, you probably have like an exciting life all the time, doing what you love every day, hard to get up, being rich and famous, blah, 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 blah. more words that aren't true about quote-unquote famous YouTubers, blah blah.
Man, can that fanboy talk. The animation in his videos isn't extraordinary, but it gets the job done. It's stylized pretty well and has a diverse color palette, and the diced frame rate does add a lot to the channel's charm. I personally call it store brand YouTube animation, but that's just me. All I can say now is, if the devil's roommate is like this, the bad place can't be that bad, right? You could probably stay at the Has-Been Hotel. It would be nice. One thing that most popular YouTubers share is pure YouTube pride. It's basically self-love over your own weirdness and shy personality, and also a demand for more respect from the platform. It's not the best thing to have, but there's been worse communities to be a part of. So when you're in a city where the more confidence you have gives you more attention, obviously the one who has the most strut in their step is going to be on the Times Square Jumbotron. And oh man, will she adore every minute of it. Oh, big shocker. The YouTuber with a fake mouth likes the YouTuber with no mouth. It's called preference, and it's what this video is based on. Rebecca is just straight up a proud member of YouTube. I don't mean that she has a big head or anything, far from it, well not that far anyway, but that she clearly loves sharing her content and growing her community. And with the quality of her videos, are you really that surprised? Rebecca's video subjects are mostly just life advice and opinions stitched together with threads of self-aware humor, but they're still fun subjects. From ironically dumb school dress codes to house slumber parties or witch gatherings, creative is the perfect word for these opinions of hers. But don't undermine the stories either, because they're basically the definition of experience. One of my personal favorites is the one about how she got stuck on the roof as a kid, for 2 hours straight. I call that video Survivor, Child Edition. But what's a play if you can't see anything on the stage? How does the animation hold up? Are you the eyeless bat? Even if she did take lessons from Seat on frame rate, her style and character designs are cute, and the absence of mouths is both an impressive and practical shortcut in animation. Color-wise, it's usually simple, but pretty consistent, which is more than I can say for the upcoming YouTubers. Either hold your tiny horses with your normal-sized arms or your normal-sized horses with your giant arms, we'll get to them eventually. As for Rebecca's personality, one word: star. Rebecca is a child of the spotlight through and through. From, again, her peppy confidence, to her literal history with theater and acting, to the point where she called herself a theater brat. Yeah, you can see that she treats her life like a show. Because it is! Also, she's kinda cute in my book. It's called Preference, and it's— oh wait, I already used that joke. Well, this got awkward. On to the next one, I guess? This sitcom cast is looking pretty tight. We got the chilled back roommate and the stardom-loving performer. I'd make a reference to a sitcom, but I can't think of any sitcoms off the top of my head that have that premise. Hollywood, take notes here. But where's the counterbalance? You know, the tougher one to balance out the softness of the other two. That kind of character is my favorite. Okay, well first off, I refer to the beginning again, and second off, here she is. Who says you always need a different opinion? You wanted a tough character? Well, I got you the queen of them. I've already talked about her royal coolness in my top 10 favorite YouTubers video, so I'll try to keep this brief. As brief as I can anyway. Tabes is a force to be reckoned with, pyramid size period, followed by this section about why she rocks aside from that. Tabes has a pretty normal life. She's had plumbing issues, visited family, has been attacked by a senile old man on a subway train, standard life affair. Seriously though, her subject matter is usually normal subjects, but it works because of how relatable they are. Her life advice is passable as well, especially the video where she talks about how she was a silent kid in school. Would make me interested, which I am. Her animation, it's not the best, but it's not below average either. It's very reminiscent of pencil sketches, with sticks for limbs, circles for hands and feet, rectangles for bodies, and detailed circles for heads. there's no color either, but I'm willing to accept that because if you've ever tried to paint a rainbow without drawing borders first, you might as well be trying to make a line straighter than a checkerboard, without a ruler. So, how is she a force to be reckoned with? Read her baseball bat. What does it say? Tabes is merciless in how much she doesn't care. While that initially might sound a bit irritating to tolerate, it isn't. It just isn't. Tabes is able to brutally talk down to people in real life, but she treats the people behind her screen with much more respect, because they deserve it. Not to mention her more real style of talking does add to her character very well. Her personality also adds a lot to the subject matter of her videos because you know from watching her that she genuinely feels the way she does about things. No lies, no exaggerations, just plain honest opinions from someone who has gone through all of these things. In summary, Tabes isn't the best at everything, but if you think you're big enough to treat her like dirt, you best be prepared to get yourself knocked out of the park. Usually if you're the first person to do something and get noticed for doing that thing, people who try to do what you do aren't as popular. That's not to say that they're bad, they're just unable to recapture the magic of what you did the first noticed time. But when you try to do what you did again, welcome to the milkman business. Unless, of course, you can recapture that magic because you haven't stopped yet. Bet you didn't see this one coming. The first ever popular YouTube animator on a list about the most popular YouTube animators. If this gets any more predictable, it's going to be an episode of The Simpsons. As with Tabes, I've already talked about the odd ones out in depth in my previous video. Well, there's an infinite amount of room to tell me how repetitive I am in the comments section, but to not talk about the man who proved that YouTube animators can survive here would be a disservice to the category entirely. James is a goofball. He's loud, childish, makes fun of himself, a jester really. That itself doesn't sound respectable, but if Jevil, Dementio, Joko, and my obvious favorite, Marks, can have fan art and songs dedicated to them, why not James? Like with Something Else YT, James tends to stick with relatable stories about childhood pets and working at Subway, with some good life advice and opinions thrown in for good measure. What makes him stand out though, is how he goes about talking about them. Yes, he is loud, which can get annoying sometimes, but aside from that, he's just so cynical and blatant about everything. I mean, just watch him rant and try not to think, I know, right?
I asked the worker, do you guys have the turkey Italiano? And he said, no. So then I asked, can I get a BMT, but instead of ham, I have turkey? And you know what he said to me? He said, no. I don't think I'm asking for too much. At my Subway, the BMT and the turkey Italiano were the same price, okay? And what do you mean, no, you can't put on turkey? Who's stopping you? I know for a fact that you don't count the slices of turkey at the end of the night. Just hook me up, please. I'm feeling sad.
Well, you certainly tried. And the cherry on top of this cake that's drowning in sprinkles, the animation. While, yes, for the fourth time, he doesn't use frames that well, he honestly makes up for it, a lot actually, by having his character bounce or slide whenever they change positions. It's strange, but seriously charming because of the way the characters are designed. They really do just say, I'm simple, love me. Thanks to their white uncolored skin, lazy limb placement, and almost blobbish figures. But I'd be lying a little bit if I didn't say that the fact that they're so liked is because they're part of James's signature style. His backgrounds though? Oh, don't get me started. The talent that our quirky little artist has creates backgrounds that are a pleasure to look at, thanks to their smooth styles and good color balance. It's like a painter's palette of Skittles, it's so pretty. When this Odd Ones Out decided to show everyone why he is the Odd Ones Out, everyone wanted to be just like him. Pretty contradictory there, but hey, everyone's free to be who they want to be. Hey, that rhymed. Normally these kinds of videos have a really big build up to the #1 spot when they get to this point. I should know, I made one of those videos. But honestly, the last pick is just a really high quality YouTube animator who I think is the best of the best. Nothing outstanding, just a person who is really, really great at being a YouTuber. So with all that said, take your hats off. For Ari. Oh, and also Jaden. Now Now I know, I placed Jaden and James, #ship, at the same spot on my top 10 list, but that was in terms of how much I liked them as YouTubers in general. This one is about being a YouTube animator in general, so allow me to explain why this is the way things are. First off, Jaden's subject matter for her videos is, well, first off, there's tons of subject matter. Jaden's been on this website for a long time, so she's made many videos about many different things as a result. And since there are so many videos, there's also many subjects for those videos. From childhood stories about skiing and drama club, to life advice about anxiety and dieting, to opinions about reality TV and being a YouTuber, to everyday life problems like traveling and, well, honestly, there's a lot of videos about traveling. You're going to drown in these videos if you stay on her channel for long enough. But it's not just the plethora of content that makes Jaden my favorite, it's also her animation. Sweet invincibility candy! You know how I've been complaining this entire time about how none of the other YouTube animators have good frame rates? Well, Jaden isn't affected by those complaints. At all. Her animations contain so many frames at a time, one could wonder if she once worked for Disney. I mean, probably not. Disney's a hard corporation to get into, and even if she did, she's clearly still pretty young. At least I think she's young. But aside from that, everything else about her animation is top tier. Her character designs are by far the most human looking out of these 5, and her backgrounds and color choices are, well, they're mostly just the same white void that Taves is stuck in, but it's a small price to pay for animation this smooth. And finally, Jaden has a really adorable personality. In summary, she's basically a nerdy introvert, but that's what's so great about her. She knows that she's not good with social interactions, and she takes pride in the fact that that is who she is as a person. So in layman's terms, the thing that makes her so likable is how blatant she is about how she loves weird dorky stuff and her isolated but not lonely life. It's honestly something that I think more people should have as a quality, to love the life that you've chosen even though you know it's flawed. However, she is very honest about her mental health issues, which is surprising, but it's also a really good quality to have as a person. In conclusion, Jaden's the best, plethora of content, amazing animations, and a kind and lovable personality to boot. With people like her on YouTube, it's no wonder why stuff like YouTube merchandise and VidCon exist.
Just hook me up, please. I'm feeling sad.